Welcome to the Top 1% Book Club. We unlock those secrets from self-improvement giants. And then we help you guys apply those insights, to level up your life. And today we are diving deep into Cal Newport's deep work to uncover how to master the ability to focus deeply in our distraction-filled world.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to explore those key lessons and practical strategies from the book so you can enhance your productivity, eliminate shallow work, and achieve more meaningful results.
Exactly. It's all about harnessing that power of focus to produce work with clarity and purpose. Now, you might be thinking, deep work. Ooh, sounds intense. Is that really for me? But here's the thing. Deep work. It isn't just for monks or academics. It's for anyone who wants to excel in their field, master new skills quickly, and produce work that truly matters.
And that's what makes it so relevant for our listeners, whether you're a writer, programmer, entrepreneur, or even an athlete. Deep work is the secret weapon for reaching the top of your game.
It's like this, hidden superpower, just waiting to be unlocked. In fact, Newport calls deep work the superpower of the 21st century. And he's not exaggerating. Top performers across all fields rely heavily on deep work. To produce at an elite level, we're talking Bill Gates, levels of focus.
And what's fascinating is that in today's world, deep work is becoming both increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. It's like this hidden advantage that most people aren't even aware of.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. What exactly is deep work? In a nutshell, it's about intense, distraction-free focus on cognitively demanding tasks. Think of it like this. You, right now, listening intently to this deep dive, you're shutting out distractions and engaging deeply with the information we're sharing.
Exactly, and that's the key. Being fully present and immersed in the task at hand. No multitasking, no checking emails, no glancing at your phone. Just pure, undiluted focus.
Now, to understand the power of deep work, we need to contrast it with what Newport calls shallow work. Think emails, meetings, mindless scrolling, those tasks that feel productive, but don't actually push your skills or create real value.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Newport argues that too much shallow work actually reduces your capacity for deep work. It's like mental junk food. It fills you up. Yeah. But leaves you feeling sluggish and unproductive.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. You have entire days where you're running around like crazy, but at the end of it, you feel like you've accomplished nothing meaningful. It's like your brain is stuck in this shallow work loop, and you can't seem to break free.
Precisely. And that's why mastering deep work is so crucial. It's not just about productivity. It's about doing work that truly matters, work that makes an impact and pushes you to grow. Remember Jason Ben, the software developer Newport mentions in the book.
Oh, right. The one who thrived in that fast-paced startup environment. Because of his deep work abilities, he's a perfect example of how deep work can give you a competitive edge in today's demanding work world.
Exactly. And it's not just about career success either. Deep work can bring a sense of meaning and satisfaction to any profession. It's about finding that flow state, that feeling of being completely absorbed in something challenging and rewarding.
Right, like a craftsman, honing their skills, whether it's coding, writing, or even building furniture. It's about approaching your work with intention and mastery. And that's a powerful feeling.
Now, before we dive into those practical strategies for cultivating deep work, let's take a moment to understand the science behind it. It's not just some mystical concept. There's actual research to back it up.
That's right. Deep work is rooted in those solid scientific principles that explain why it's so effective. One of the key concepts is deliberate practice.
Exactly. Deliberate practice is all about focused attention and feedback leading to skill development. It's like when you're learning a new language or a musical instrument, you need to concentrate intensely and receive feedback to improve. You can't just passively listen to a language learning app and expect to become fluent.
That makes sense. You need to actively engage with the material and push yourself beyond your comfort zone to really master it.
Precisely. And deep work provides that ideal environment for deliberate practice. It allows you to shut out distractions and truly concentrate on honing your skills. And here's the fascinating part. As you practice deeply, you're actually changing your brain.
Wait, what? Deep work changes your brain. Tell me more.
There's this substance called myelin, which acts like insulation for your neurons, making them fire more efficiently. And guess what? Deliberate practice, the kind you engage in during deep work, helps build myelin. It's like strengthening those connections in your brain, making those skills more ingrained and automatic.
So deep work literally cements skills into your brain, making them almost effortless over time. That's incredible.
Exactly. That's why it's so powerful for mastering hard things quickly. You're not just learning, you're rewiring your brain for peak performance. But there's a catch we have to address: the attention residue phenomenon.
You're talking about that feeling
Yeah.
of your brain being stuck on the previous task.
Right.
Like when you try to switch
Right.
from writing a report to answering emails.
Yeah.
And you just can't seem to fully focus.
That's right. Attention residue is a major deep work killer. Every time you switch tasks, a bit of your attention gets left behind on the previous task, making it harder to achieve that deep focus we're after.
So it's like our brains are terrible multitaskers. We think we're being efficient by juggling multiple things at once. But in reality, we're just fragmenting our attention and reducing our cognitive capacity.
That's putting it mildly. Our brains are wired for focus, not for constant switching. And the more we try to multitask, the more we diminish our ability for deep work. And that brings us to the different deep work philosophies. Newport outlines in the book, there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
That's a relief. I was starting to worry that I'd have to become a hermit to achieve deep work. So what are these different philosophies? Which one might be right for me?
Newport outlines 4 main philosophies: monastic, bimodal, rhythmic, and journalistic. The monastic approach is all about extreme focus, minimizing shallow obligations as much as possible. Think of Donald Knuth, the legendary computer scientist, who famously disconnects from email for months at a time to focus on his writing.
Wow, that's intense. I admire his dedication, but I don't know if I could completely disconnect from the world like that. What are the other options?
The bimodal philosophy involves dedicating specific blocks of time for deep work and leaving the rest for everything else. This is more like how Carl Jung worked. He would divide his time between intense periods of writing and research in his isolated tower, and then engaging with the world.
That sounds a bit more manageable. You're still protecting your deep work time, but you're not completely shutting yourself off from the world. What about the rhythmic philosophy?
Rhythmic is all about making deep work a regular habit, like Brian Chappell, who wrote his dissertation before work every day, no matter what. It's about building a ritual around deep work, making it an ingrained part of your daily routine.
Consistency is key. It's like working out or meditating. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Exactly. And finally, there's the journalistic philosophy, where you fit deep work in whenever you can. Much like Walter Isaacson, he would sneak away to write for short bursts, whenever he had a spare moment.
So it's more about being opportunistic and seizing those moments of focus when they arise, rather than having a rigid schedule. This approach might work well for people with unpredictable workdays or those who are constantly on the go.
Exactly. The key takeaway here is to experiment and find the philosophy that resonates best with your work style and personality. What works for one person might not work for another. It's all about tailoring your approach to fit your own unique needs and preferences.
Now that we have a better understanding of the different philosophies, let's move on to some practical strategies. For implementing deep work, what are some actionable steps we can take to start cultivating this superpower in our own lives?
Let's start with ritualizing your deep work sessions. Newport emphasizes the importance of having a specific location, dedicated time blocks, and clear rules to minimize willpower depletion.
It's like creating a sacred space for deep work, a place where your brain knows it's time to get serious. Think of it like a pregame ritual for athletes. They have specific routines that get them in the zone and ready to perform at their best.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And it's not just about the physical space. It's also about having a mental ritual. Maybe you close your email, turn off notifications, put on noise-canceling headphones, or even light a candle, whatever works for you, to signal to your brain that it's time to focus.
I love that. It's like setting the stage for deep work, creating an environment where distractions are minimized and focus can flourish.
Yeah.
And speaking of distractions, Newport has some interesting thoughts on boredom. He actually encourages us to embrace boredom. That seems counterintuitive. In our always-on world, why would we want to be bored?
It's a great point. In our hyper-connected world, we're constantly bombarded with stimuli. We've become addicted to novelty and instant gratification. This constant stimulation makes it harder to focus for extended periods. Our brains become accustomed to this constant dopamine hit, and anything that requires sustained attention feels, well,
boring.
So we need to retrain our brains to tolerate boredom. It's like building a mental muscle. The more we can withstand boredom, the better we become at focusing deeply. Precisely. And there are plenty of ways to train your boredom tolerance. One is to simply resist the urge to check your phone or browse the internet. When you have a few minutes of downtime, let yourself be bored.
It sounds counterintuitive, but it makes sense. Instead of reaching for our phones every time we have a spare moment, we can let our minds wander, think deeply, or simply be present in the moment.
Exactly. Another strategy is to schedule breaks from focus, not from distraction. This might sound counterintuitive, but it's about giving your brain a chance to recharge without resorting to your usual distractions.
So instead of taking a break from work to scroll through social media, you take a break to do something completely different, something that doesn't require a lot of mental energy, like going for a walk, listening to music, or meditating.
Precisely. The key is to give your brain a break from all stimuli, both work-related and distraction-related. This helps you come back to your work, feeling refreshed and re-energized.
It's like hitting the reset button on your brain, clearing out the mental clutter, and making space for deeper focus.
And that brings us to one of my favorite deep work strategies, productive meditation. It's all about using your downtime to think deeply about a single problem.
So instead of letting your mind wander aimlessly, you deliberately focus on a specific problem or challenge.
That's right. The key is to do it while engaging in an activity that doesn't require a lot of mental energy. Newport suggests walking, but it could also be showering, gardening, or even doing the dishes.
It's like turning your daily chores into opportunities for deep thinking. And the best part is that you're not just thinking about the problem, you're also training your mind to focus for extended periods.
It's a win-win. And if you're looking for a more structured approach to deep work, Newport suggests applying the 4 Disciplines of Execution framework, which is a business methodology for achieving wildly important goals.
And the cool thing is, you can apply this framework to your deep work goals as well. It's about setting clear objectives, tracking your progress, and holding yourself accountable.
Exactly. The 4DX framework emphasizes the importance of lead measures, which are the activities that drive success, on your lag measures, which are the ultimate outcomes you want to achieve.
So if your lag measure is to write a book, your lead measures might be writing a certain number of words per day or completing a chapter per week. It's about focusing on the actions that will get you to your desired result.
Exactly. By tracking your lead measures, you create a feedback loop that keeps you motivated and on track. Newport himself used this approach to double his research output.
Wow, that's impressive. It really shows the power of having a structured approach to deep work. It's not just about willpower. It's about having a system that supports your efforts.
And speaking of systems, Newport also offers some valuable insights. On managing shallow work, he argues that we should quantify how much time we're spending on shallow activities, and then actively try to reduce it.
It's like creating a budget for shallow work, just like you would for your finances. You track your spending, and then make conscious decisions about where to cut back. So how do we go about reducing this shallow work? Are there specific strategies we can implement?
Absolutely. One of the best ways to reduce shallow work is to be ruthless with email. Newport suggests things like using process-centric responses, setting up sender filters, and knowing when not to reply.
I love the idea of process-centric responses. It's about closing the loop on emails as quickly as possible and providing clear next steps rather than letting them linger and create mental clutter.
Exactly. And sender filters are great for managing the influx of emails from people who aren't essential to your deep work. It's like setting boundaries around your inbox, protecting your time and attention from unnecessary distractions.
And then there's the most radical suggestion, knowing when not to reply at all. It goes against the grain of our always-on culture. But it can be incredibly liberating.
It's about recognizing that not every email deserves a response. Sometimes it's better to simply ignore a message than to get sucked into a time-consuming back and forth.
It's about prioritizing your deep work over the demands of your inbox. That's a powerful shift in perspective. It's about reclaiming your time and attention, and ultimately, your ability to do your best work. But let's be honest, all this talk about deep work can feel a bit overwhelming. Where do you even begin?
It's true. The idea of transforming your work habits can be daunting. But remember, you don't have to go all in at once. Start with small changes, build momentum, and gradually incorporate more deep work principles into your life.
Small changes. Got it. What would a small change look like? I need a starting point.
Scheduling a 30-minute block of distraction-free time each day is a great start. Turn off those notifications, close your email, and focus on a single task.
Okay, 30 minutes, no distractions. I can try that. What if I can't commit to a full 30 minutes all at once?
Then start even smaller. Try implementing a no-internet rule for the first hour of your workday. Use that time to tackle your most important task before the distractions start rolling in.
That's a good idea. I could even use that time for productive meditation, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Instead of checking my phone on my commute, I could use that time to think deeply about a work problem.
Exactly. Small tweaks, big impact. As you start experiencing those benefits of deep work, you'll find yourself naturally wanting to do more. It becomes a positive feedback loop, deeper work, better results, increased motivation.
It's like any skill, really. The more you practice, the better you get,
Yeah.
and the more you enjoy it. But I'm curious, the book focuses a lot on individual benefits. What about the impact of deep work on teams and organizations?
That's an excellent point. Deep work isn't just an individual pursuit. It has profound implications for how we work together. Imagine entire companies embracing a deep work culture.
What would that look like? Paint me a picture.
Think fewer meetings, limited distractions, dedicated time for focused work. It would be a haven for productivity and meaningful output.
It would be a complete game changer. Productivity would skyrocket, employees would feel more engaged, and innovation would flourish. It's like creating a sanctuary where people can do their best, most meaningful work.
This raises an important question for all of us. What can you do in your workplace to shift the culture toward deeper work?
It might seem daunting, but even small changes can have a ripple effect. It's about starting the conversation, advocating for focused time, and leading by example.
Exactly. Perhaps suggest a no-meeting Wednesday, or designate specific quiet hours for deep work. Even small steps can make a big difference.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into deep work. It's a call to action for all of us to reclaim our time and attention to do work that matters and to create a world where deep work is the norm, not the exception.
It's about moving beyond shallow distractions and rediscovering that power of focus, depth, and meaningful contribution. And that's something worth striving for.
What's one small change you can make this week to create more space for deep work in your life? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them with us on social media.
Until next time.